You don't have to listen, but if you hear one thing, be true to who you are inside and don't forget your dreams. Be the best you can be. Be the best you can be. Be the best you can be.
Hello, and welcome to the Positunity Podcast. Life is a journey, own yours. Thank you for joining me on whatever platform you prefer, audio or video. However you found us, however you enjoy us, thank you. Thank you for joining and rejoining and listening. You know, I did something the other day while I was at the gym. I listened to some of my own music. I mean, my own recordings of songs that I wrote. It reminded me of me. You know, the me that I was before the world broke me. Listen, I know that's a little dramatic, but it reminded me of who I am and who I want to be. This music is more than 2 decades old, but there is something in it that I realized I lost somewhere. This isn't about that or who, many who's, but probably the big 3 who will remain unnamed. Who broke me? Who I let break me, mind you. I'm not blaming them, while there may be blame with each. But it reminded me somehow of what I lost. The bright-eyed version of me in exchange for the realist. But I want both. It's okay to be optimistic and realistic. My songs reminded me of that, which is why you heard a snippet of one as the opening of this episode. Immediately after posting the last many things started to happen fairly quickly. The new sign arrived. It's here, see? The same day I posted. And still, I'm glad I didn't wait for it. But immediately thereafter, the new stickers came. There they are. But it made me think about Positunity and how it relates to this new direction and the thought that I left at the end of the episode about self-care. I'm not going to repeat it here, so listen again if you missed it. I started thinking about that and where it came from. I'd exercised the principle even before I heard the quote. In fact, the principle was first executed for me during a time when I was fairly low in life. And it doesn't matter where or when or what the circumstances were, but I was grieving. Don't get me wrong, grieving is important. Whatever form that takes for you, you do need to engage with the grief and process. That said, I was well past the point of normal grieving, but I still longed for what was lost. It was all I knew at the time, so it was everything I was missing. Luckily, I had some wonderful and even not so wonderful people in my life who pushed me across the move-on line. And my longing and sorrow, I had actually gotten stuck. I was not moving forward. I was becoming stuck in the mud. It took someone else pushing me, again, whether through love or malice, out of that space. In the end, even the people who did it out of malice did me a favor. But I resented them at the time. I don't want to focus on those people who did it with negative intentions. Yes, it worked out as a positunity for me, but focusing on what they were doing to hurt me is not a positunity. So I'm going to focus on a couple of the people who did help me. The first was my dad. There was a specific photograph I had loved for years. I loved it so much I had it printed and framed. I couldn't get rid of it because of the sentimental nature of the picture. That said, the picture represented something specific from my life, and while the memory in the picture was a happy one, it represented the loss and sorrow I was experiencing. Having that photo, even though fond of the memories that abounded within it, reminded me that was no longer the case. Every day, I was reminded by that large print that while the memory of the event was good, the reminder of the loss was weighing me down. It was my dad who mentioned something about this picture. He asked if he could throw it away for me. I hastily agreed in that moment because I recognized what he was saying. It broke my heart to lose the picture, but, like I told him at the time, I still have the digital print, so it's not completely gone. but I don't need the reminder of the good, because it also brings the sadness every single day. Later that night, I regretted the decision and I tried to find the picture. Smarter than I am, my dad made sure I would not find the picture. Thank you, Dad. I cried that evening. But it wasn't what I thought, or probably what you thought. I was crying because I was grateful. I was crying because I knew the sorrow was actually what I was upset about, not the picture. I was sad that I had let that thing become a thing that was weighing me down. Hidden behind the joy was the sadness connected. Having the photo reminder gone allowed only the positive memory from the photo to remain with me, rather than the physical reminder of the loss. It was around that same time, dealing with sadness and sorrow and loss, that another friend did me a favor. This person will remain anonymous. One, because I want these stories to be more broad than specific events, but also because this person didn't do it with pure intentions. As I stated before, ultimately, it became a Positunity, which is why we are talking about it here, but the intention behind it and this person in general, I've now learned didn't actually have my best interest in mind at the moment. Ultimately, their advice was for themselves and made things better for them, but inadvertently, they helped me at the same time. It was this person who pointed out something that was causing me pain, and I didn't even recognize it until they brought it up and I heard their advice. Without getting into the weeds and the details, I was repeating something daily because, again, in the short term, it made me feel better. I'm including this one because, unlike the first example, this person did not make their suggestion out of malice. They made their suggestion selfishly because it was in their best interest, not mine. But my actions, unbeknownst to me, were affecting their life and relationship, which is why they were bringing this up in the first place. If you could stop this, it might make my life easier too, is what the underlying message was. And I only recognize that now in hindsight. As another happy circumstance, their selfish advice pointed out that my own similar actions were hanging on to the sadness instead of moving forward. The conversation started with them asking me what I did each day that made me happy or feel good. I started talking about all of those things and smiling. Then I mentioned the one thing that I did each day on my drive to and from work. It was something I had done every day because it made me feel good. The problem was, while that immediate action and repetitive nature made me feel good because it was my thing, it was connected to a part of my life that was no longer present. While I was getting happy each day, I was also reinforcing the fact that what I was doing was no longer part of my life. Yes, I felt good doing it, but doing it also reminded me what I was missing. The reason I recognized it was that I started crying when I talked about it with this person. I remember thinking, and maybe even saying, this is so weird. I was talking about things making me happy, this making me happy, but as I talk, I realize it makes me recognize the loss. That's why I'm crying. That is no longer me, my life, or who I am. While the action and the repetition made me immediately happy, it also reinforced my sadness. Something that makes me happy should not be intimately connected with sadness as well. Listen, I know you love your kids and they make you sad. I know they are not mutually exclusive, but if you are repeating a habit that makes you cry again and again, stop repeating the habit. So I did. This person was the one who said, "This makes you happy?" Like the photo and the convo with my dad, my yes did not come quite as readily as I thought it should. That is when I said, "You're right. Yesterday was the last day I did it." And it was. I never made that thing a part of my day again. Starting the day before, it was easy because I had already skipped this morning. These two incidents connected to the same period did more to move me forward within a few months than anything had in the 6 or more months before. These two events combined were enough to push me out of the rut I was stuck in and actually move forward. There was no more focusing on what had been and what was lost. It was only about what I had learned, gained, and now moving forward. I'm not saying it was instant. I'm not saying it didn't take some conscious effort at times, but I am saying it was enough to allow me to take a step back and figure out what I was doing to myself and how to stop it. I mentioned something in the last episode about finding the silver lining and letting go. I understand that sometimes that is a lot easier said than done. What I will also say, though, is regardless of whether or not you can find the silver lining, you absolutely must let go. If you don't, it will eat at you, wear you down, and eventually destroy you. Like the axe in the tree, last episode. You might not know when, where, or how, but you need to remove that wedge in order to heal. That is not your problem, but you do need to deal with it and remove it sooner than later. So whatever you need to do to let go, do it. If you need someone to throw away a picture for you or sound off on why you'll be better and help push you out of the mud rut you are in, reach out. Family, friends, this podcast, I'll throw it away. I will reality check you. That's it. Thank you for listening, wherever you found the audio or video, if that is your preference. Remember, if you have a comment or something to share, do it on Facebook, Insta, or YouTube at Positunity on all of those channels, online at positunity.net, biz, and org, or by email at positunitynow@gmail.com. If you didn't hear or see the announcement this week, the podcast is officially out on Spotify. Check it out there or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for listening. Own your journey. Be well.